"Stop staring. If you want to, touch it," said the alien wet woman. Captain Juno West stood at the edge of the jungle, staring out at the vast expanse of ocean. The sky was painted in brilliant hues of orange and pink as the twin suns began to set. The air was thick with the sweet scent of alien flowers and the hum of unfamiliar creatures hidden in the lush greenery. She was alone, but she didn't mind. The solitude was peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos that had brought her here. The Endeavor, a state-of-the-art human exploration ship, had landed on this planet just 2 days ago. It was an uncharted world, tucked away on the fringes of the galaxy, offering the promise of valuable resources and scientific discovery. The crew was busy with their tasks, collecting samples and exploring, but Juno's role was more important. She was the captain. It was her responsibility to ensure the safety of the crew and the success of the mission. But today, things hadn't gone as planned. A powerful storm had rolled in unexpectedly. Waves crashed against the side of the ship, and the wind howled like a wild beast. In the chaos, one of the ship's communication arrays had been damaged, leaving Juno stranded on a small, uninhabited island off the coast of the main continent. She had managed to make contact with the crew briefly, but the storm had knocked out their link. Now she was stuck, waiting for repairs. She scanned the horizon, trying to clear her mind of the nagging thoughts about the ship's condition and her responsibility to the crew. The ocean, a beautiful shade of deep blue, stretched endlessly in front of her. The water sparkled as if alive, reflecting the colors of the setting suns. She was captivated by the sight. This world, though strange and wild, was breathtaking. Suddenly, Juno froze. Her eyes narrowed and she leaned forward slightly, her heart skipping a beat. From the far edge of the beach, a figure emerged from the water, walking slowly towards her. At first, Juno thought it was some kind of large aquatic animal, but then she saw it clearly. A woman, no, not quite like any woman she had ever seen, was stepping gracefully out of the water. Her skin shimmered in the light, smooth and iridescent, like the surface of the sea itself. The woman's hair, long and flowing, seemed to ripple like seaweed, swaying with the ocean breeze. She was completely unbothered by the water that clung to her, her body seemingly sculpted from the very sea. Juno's breath caught in her throat. Her first instinct was to draw her blaster, but something about the figure made her hesitate. She didn't sense danger. Not exactly. The woman was different. The alien woman came closer, her bare feet leaving traces of water behind her. She stopped a few feet away from Juno, standing tall and confident, her eyes glowing with a strange light, blue and green like the depths of the ocean. "You are human," the alien said, her voice soft but with an edge of curiosity. It wasn't a question, just an observation. Juno blinked, unsure how to respond. She had expected alien creatures to speak in languages she could not understand, but this woman spoke her language clearly, as if she had known it all her life. Yes," Juno replied, her voice steady despite the shock. "I'm Captain Juno West of the Endeavor. I'm stranded here. My ship was damaged." The alien's lips curled into a small smile, though it was unclear whether she understood the full gravity of Juno's words. "It is not unusual for humans to be stranded," she said, as if contemplating the concept. "You are not the first." Juno frowned. "You know about humans." The alien nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving Juno's face. "I know much about many things," she replied cryptically. "But you are interesting." Juno's curiosity grew, but she also felt a twinge of caution. "What are you?" she asked, though she wasn't sure if she would get an answer. "I am Anara," the alien said simply. "I am of the water. My people are not like yours." Juno took a step back, trying to process everything. This wasn't just any alien. She was something else entirely. But before she could ask more questions, Anara tilted her head, studying Juno with an intensity that made the captain feel like she was being examined under a microscope. "Why do you stare at me so?" Anara asked. her voice light but filled with an undeniable challenge. "If you wish to, you may touch it." Juno's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't expected that. For a moment she didn't know what to say. This alien woman, Anara, was speaking to her as if they were equals, but in a way that made Juno feel oddly uncomfortable. "Was it some kind of test?" "I wasn't staring," Juno said, her voice stiff. "I was just surprised." Anara's smile deepened. "It is natural for your kind to be curious, but you are not like others. You do not fear the unknown." Juno shook her head slowly. "I wouldn't say that." "But fear isn't going to help me get off this island, is it?" Anara seemed to consider that, her glowing eyes studying Juno's face. "No, fear is a tool, but it is not the only one you have." She took a step closer to Juno. "Tell me, Captain Juno West, what is it that you want most?" Juno frowned, a little unsettled by the sudden shift in conversation. "I want to fix my ship and get back to my crew." Anara nodded, but there was something knowing in her expression. "And once you do that, what will you do next?" Juno hesitated, not sure how to answer. It was true she hadn't thought much beyond survival and getting back to the Endeavor, but something in Anara's question seemed to push her to think deeper. "I suppose I'll continue exploring. Discovering new places, helping humanity grow." Anara's smile returned, more playful this time. "You humans are always exploring, always moving forward, but you do not always understand what you find." Juno raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Anara stepped back, the water around her seeming to move with her. "You will learn soon enough, Captain. The world is full of mysteries. Some are meant to be uncovered, and others are best left alone." Before Juno could respond, the alien turned and began to walk back toward the ocean, her body dissolving into the waves. For a moment, Juno wondered if she had imagined the whole thing. But no. The water was still and the strange woman, Anara, was gone, leaving only the soft sound of the tide behind. Juno stood alone on the beach, her mind racing. Who was Anara? What did she want? And why did she speak of things that made Juno feel like there was so much more to this world than she had realized? With a deep breath, Juno turned back toward the jungle. There was no time to waste. She had to repair the ship and get back to her crew. But now, with the encounter fresh in her mind, she couldn't help but wonder, was this planet really as uninhabited as they had thought? As she began her walk back to camp, the last rays of the twin suns dipped below the horizon. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. This strange new world was full of surprises, and Juno had the feeling she had just scratched the surface. The next day, Juno found herself back at the same spot by the beach, watching the ocean in the early morning light. The storm had passed, leaving the sky clear and the air fresh. The ship still needed repairs, but the crew had managed to get some systems back online, and Juno was in a better mood. She was alone again, but she couldn't shake the memory of Anara from the day before. The way the alien woman had appeared from the water, so graceful and mysterious, was like nothing Juno had ever encountered. And the words Anara had spoken, about humans, about the world, kept echoing in Juno's mind. After finishing a routine check on the ship's communication systems, Juno decided to head back to the beach, hoping to find some answers. She didn't know if Anara would return, but something told her that the alien woman might be able to help with more than just the ship. Maybe, just maybe, she could help them understand this strange world. As Juno approached the water's edge, she noticed something different. The ocean, usually calm and serene, seemed to ripple in a way that suggested movement beneath the surface. It was subtle, but Juno was sharp and she could tell that something was stirring. "Are you here?" Juno called out, almost unsure why she said it. There was no answer, only the sound of waves crashing against the shore, but she felt something, a presence. Then, out of the water, Anara emerged once again. This time, she wasn't walking onto the shore but floating just above the surface of the water. She moved effortlessly, as if the ocean itself was carrying her. Her skin shimmered like the morning sun on the waves, and her long, flowing hair seemed to ripple with the current. Juno couldn't help but stare in awe. She had seen many strange things in her career as a captain, but nothing quite like this. "You came back," Juno said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Anara smiled, her glowing eyes locking onto Juno's. "I was waiting for you to understand. Humans are always in a hurry, always trying to fix things. But sometimes it is the questions that need time to answer themselves." Juno frowned. "What do you mean by that?" Anara's smile softened, as if she was amused by Juno's confusion. "You want to understand this world. You want to know what it can give you, what you can take from it, but you are not looking in the right places." Juno crossed her arms, puzzled. "I'm not here to take anything. I'm here to learn. My crew and I are trying to understand this planet and its resources." "Resources," Anara repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "That is what your people call it, but you think too small. You think of what the planet can give you. But the planet, the water, they have their own language, a language that cannot be spoken with words alone." Juno felt a chill run down her spine. "A language of the water? What do you mean?" Anara moved closer, her form blending with the water's edge. "I speak to the water. It listens to me. It feels me. The ocean is alive, Juno West. And it has more to offer than your technology can comprehend." Juno blinked, unsure how to respond. "I don't understand. Are you saying the ocean can talk?" Anara nodded, her gaze never leaving Juno's. "Yes, but not with words. It is a different kind of communication. The ocean, the creatures within it, the very air you breathe, they are all connected. They can hear you. They can feel your presence. The only question is whether you can listen." Juno was silent for a long moment, trying to grasp what Anara was saying. She had always thought of nature as something to study, to analyze, to understand with the help of science and technology. But this was something entirely different. "Why are you telling me this?" Juno asked, still unsure of Anara's intentions. Anara's eyes glimmered, a strange mix of amusement and seriousness in her expression. "Because you are different from the others. I can see it in you. You don't just want to take from this world. You want to understand it. You want to learn. That is why you are here. And that is why I will teach you." Juno took a deep breath, her mind racing. She wasn't sure what was happening, but she could feel it. Something was shifting. The alien woman wasn't just trying to help her understand the planet. She was challenging Juno to think in ways she had never considered before. But what if Anara was right? What if there was more to this world than just the resources they could mine, the technology they could extract? What if the ocean, the land, the very planet itself was alive in a way humanity had never understood? Juno decided to take a chance. "Okay, teach me. Show me what you mean." Anara smiled, her expression warming. "Good, come with me." She turned and glided back toward the water, beckoning Juno to follow. Despite herself, Juno felt a pull, an invitation to something new and exciting. She stepped forward, the sand cool beneath her feet, and followed the alien woman into the waves. The water was colder than Juno had expected, but it didn't bother her. It felt alive. As she walked further into the ocean, she noticed that the water seemed to swirl around her, guiding her steps, pulling her forward. It was as if the sea was acknowledging her presence, welcoming her. Anara stopped and turned to face her. "Now listen," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Juno paused, trying to clear her mind. She had no idea what she was supposed to be listening to. The only sound was the gentle lapping of the waves. But then something shifted, a subtle vibration beneath her feet. It was faint at first, but then it grew, and she realized it wasn't just the water. She could feel it in the air, in her chest, in her bones. The ocean wasn't just moving, it was alive, breathing, speaking in a language she couldn't understand. "Do you feel it?" Anara asked, her voice soft but powerful. Juno nodded slowly, her heart racing. "Yes, what is it?" "The planet is speaking," Anara said. "Not with words, but with feelings, with presence. You have to feel it, Juno. You have to open yourself to the language of the water. Juno closed her eyes and took a deep breath, letting the vibrations fill her senses. She wasn't sure how it worked, but she could feel something stirring within her, a connection to the ocean that she had never known before. As the moments passed, Juno began to understand. It wasn't just about what the planet could give. It was about the bond between everything that lived here. The ocean, the sky, the creatures, the land. They were all part of one great system, one great force. And Juno was beginning to realize that if she wanted to survive here, to truly understand this world, she needed to learn to communicate with it. Anara was right. It wasn't about technology. It wasn't about power. It was about connection. And for the first time, Juno felt a sense of peace, a deep, profound understanding that she was exactly where she needed to be. Days passed, and Juno spent every moment she could with Anara. She had learned more from the alien woman than she ever thought possible. The water, the land, the creatures, they all spoke in ways Juno had never imagined. Every time she thought she understood, Anara would show her something new, something deeper, and her knowledge grew. The planet was not just a place to be studied. It was alive, aware, and in some strange way it had always been waiting for humanity to understand. But amidst the beauty and mystery there was also danger. Juno could feel it, lurking just beneath the surface. One afternoon, as Juno and Anara walked along the beach, the air around them grew still. The ocean, usually full of movement, seemed to hold its breath. Juno's instincts kicked in. She had been in enough dangerous situations to recognize when something was wrong. "What is it?" Juno asked, glancing at Anara. The alien woman stopped and looked out across the horizon, her glowing eyes narrowing. "The wind speaks of a storm, not one made by nature." Juno's brow furrowed. "A storm, but the sky is clear. There's no sign of a normal one." Anara was silent for a long moment. "This is not a storm that can be seen in the sky. It is a force that comes from beyond the stars, a force that seeks to claim this planet." Juno's heart skipped a beat. "You're saying an invasion?" Anara nodded slowly. "Yes. The invaders have come before and they will come again. They are from a distant star system, hungry for resources. They are known to mine planets dry, draining them of everything until there is nothing left." Juno's mind raced. She had heard rumors of such races, alien species that moved from world to world, exploiting resources, conquering civilizations. She had thought they were just stories. But now, standing here on this alien world, she realized how real the danger was. "I have to warn the crew," Juno said, her voice filled with urgency. "We have to prepare. We need to—" Anara raised a hand, stopping her. "Not yet. You do not yet understand the full extent of the threat. The invaders are not just interested in the planet's resources. They want something more." Juno's confusion deepened. What could be more important than resources? Anara's expression grew serious. "The ocean, the heart of the world, it holds power, an ancient power. The invaders know this and they will stop at nothing to take it. But they cannot control it, not the way we do. If they succeed, this world will be lost, the balance will be shattered." Juno's eyes widened. "You're telling me the ocean is more than just water, it's a weapon?" Anara shook her head. "Not a weapon, a force. A living energy that binds this world together. It has been here since the beginning, older than the stars themselves. My people, we have learned to coexist with it, to understand its rhythms. But if the invaders take control, they will use it to destroy everything. It will tear the world apart." Juno's mind raced. The weight of Anara's words was sinking in. This was no longer just about survival. It was about protecting a living world, a world that was far more than just a place to exploit for resources. She had to warn her crew, but there was a deeper urgency now. She had to find a way to stop the invaders before it was too late. "How do we stop them?" Juno asked, her voice steady but filled with determination. Anara's gaze softened as if she could see the resolve in Juno's eyes. The ocean will protect itself, but it needs help. It needs someone who understands it, someone who can guide it like I have done. You have learned the ways of the water, Captain West. You can help. Juno felt a surge of uncertainty. She had only begun to understand the ocean's power. Could she really help in time to make a difference? The invaders were already on their way. She could feel it. The tension in the air was growing thicker with each passing hour. We need to act fast, Juno said, turning toward the ship. I'll gather my crew. We'll figure this out together. Anara nodded, her expression serious. The planet's heart is in the water. That is where the invaders will strike first. Protect it and you protect everything. Juno didn't wait for another word. She turned and started running back toward the ship, her mind focused and her heart pounding in her chest. There was no time to waste. Back at the ship, Juno quickly gathered the crew. They were busy with their own tasks, working to repair the damaged systems, but when Juno walked in, her presence alone silenced the room. "We have a problem," Juno said, her voice commanding attention. "The storm we've been dealing with, it's not natural. We're about to face an invasion." Her crew exchanged uneasy glances. "Invasion? From who?" asked Lieutenant Walker, one of her most trusted officers. "From a race that's been targeting planets like this for centuries. They want the planet's resources, but there's something more. The ocean itself, there's power there, and they'll do anything to take it." The crew was silent as they absorbed her words. Juno could see the skepticism in their eyes, but she didn't have time to explain everything. They had to act. "We need to fortify the ship," she said. "We're going to need all the firepower we can muster to defend ourselves, but we also need to protect the planet's heart, the ocean. That's where the invaders will focus their attack." "How do you know all this?" asked Dr. Sarah Liu, the ship's scientist. "This is beyond anything we've studied." "I've learned some things," Juno replied, her voice grim. "From an alien, Anara. She's been trying to help us understand the world. The ocean is alive, it's part of the planet's power. If the invaders take control of it, they'll destroy everything." The crew nodded, starting to understand the gravity of the situation. "What's the plan, Captain?" Walker asked. Juno took a deep breath. "We'll fortify the ship, but we'll also work with Anara and her people. We need to defend the ocean. If we can hold them off long enough, we can stop them from taking control." The crew began to mobilize, moving quickly and efficiently. They knew that this wasn't just another mission. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about saving an entire planet from destruction. As Juno and her crew prepared for the fight ahead, Anara stood silently at the edge of the ocean, watching the horizon. The invaders were coming. She could feel it, but she was not alone. The ocean, the land, and the creatures all around them seemed to be awakening, ready to defend their home. And Juno, the human captain who had come to understand the deeper connection between them all, would stand with her. Together they would face the invaders, and together they would fight for the heart of the world. The invasion was no longer a distant threat. It was here. Juno stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, her eyes fixed on the starry sky. She had never seen the stars look so cold, so distant. The invaders were approaching, and there was no more time for doubt. The planet's survival rested in their hands. "Status report," Juno said, her voice steady but carrying an edge of urgency. "Enemy fleet detected," Lieutenant Walker said, his voice tight with focus. "They're in orbit preparing to deploy ground forces. Their ships are heavily armed, advanced weapons and shields, Captain. We don't have much time before they land." Juno nodded. The Endeavor was no match for their fleet in space. They would have to make their stand on the planet. But it wasn't just the ship's weapons they needed, it was the power of the ocean. Anara's words echoed in her mind. "Protect the ocean. Protect the heart of the world." "We need to prepare the defenses on the surface," Juno said quickly, turning to the crew. "We'll split our forces. Half stay here on the ship to defend it in orbit. The rest of us will head down to the planet. We're not just defending a world, we're defending its soul." The crew moved quickly, no hesitation in their steps. Juno was proud of them. She knew they were ready. But this wasn't just about them. This was about the future of humanity. The ocean was the key to everything. If they failed, not just Earth, but all the worlds these invaders would target would be lost. On the surface of the planet, Anara stood with Juno at the water's edge once more, her glowing eyes scanning the horizon. The sky was darkening, filled with the shape of the invader ships descending from above. The time to act was now. "Are the others ready?" Juno asked. Anara nodded, her gaze never leaving the sky. "The water is ready. My people are ready. But there is much that even we cannot control." "I understand," Juno said, her voice determined. "We do what we can, we fight." The sounds of the invader ships growing louder filled the air, and Juno's heart raced. She knew they didn't have much time. "Listen closely," Anara said softly, turning to Juno. "The ocean will respond to you. You have learned its language, but you must listen carefully. This is not just about defense, it is about balance. The water, the land, the sky, everything must be in harmony. If you fight with fear, if you fight without understanding, the planet will turn against you." Juno took a deep breath. The pressure was immense, but she knew what she had to do. She had spent days learning the ways of the ocean, feeling the rhythm of the water, the vibrations in the air. Now she had to use it. They didn't have a choice. "We'll protect the heart of the world," Juno said, her voice firm. "Let's make sure the invaders understand what that means." The battle began the moment the invaders' ships hit the ground. The air was filled with the roar of weapons fire as the invaders deployed their forces. Large armored troops with advanced energy shields and weapons that could level entire buildings. They stormed the beaches, cutting through the thick alien jungle, aiming for the heart of the planet, the ocean. Juno and Anara led the charge, their feet sinking into the wet sand as the invaders came closer. The Endeavor had launched fighters, but the true battle was on the ground. The ocean and the land would have to defend themselves. Juno could feel it, the vibrations in the air. The water around her started to pulse with energy, the waves crashing harder against the shore. The creatures of the deep, the ones Juno had learned to understand, began to surface, their massive bodies moving in unison. The water was alive, responding to her commands, but it wasn't just Juno, it was Anara's people as well. Anara's voice came through the chaos, calm and strong. "Feel it, listen to the water, feel the power of the world beneath you." Juno closed her eyes for a moment, focusing on the rhythm of the waves. The ocean was speaking to her, urging her to act, to push back against the invaders, to help guide the forces of the planet. She reached out, her hands stretched toward the waves. With a deep breath, Juno called upon the ocean's power. The water around her surged upward, crashing against the invaders with incredible force. Massive walls of water rose like tidal waves, knocking the enemy soldiers back. The invaders were caught off guard, unable to stop the onslaught. The waves kept coming, their power growing stronger as Juno and Anara called upon the ocean's ancient energy. But the invaders weren't giving up easily. Their advanced weapons fired relentlessly, and the ground trembled under the heavy impact of their bombs. Juno could feel the planet shaking beneath her feet. "We can't hold them off forever," Walker's voice crackled through Juno's communicator. "We need backup." "I know," Juno shouted, her voice barely audible over the roar of the battle. "We need to stop them at the heart of the ocean. That's where they'll try to break through," Anara nodded. "The ocean will defend itself, but it needs your help. We cannot fight for you, Captain West. You must lead." Juno's heart pounded as she realized the truth of Anara's words. This was her fight now. She had to stand as the bridge between humanity and this ancient, living world. She had to be the one to guide the planet's power and protect it from the invaders. With a determined shout, Juno raced forward, her hands raised high, calling upon the water. The ocean responded, waves crashing in all directions, pushing the invaders back. But it wasn't just the water. Creatures of the deep, massive and ancient, rose from the depths, their eyes glowing with the same energy that Juno had learned to feel. They charged toward the invaders, their massive forms moving through the ocean, making it clear that this world would not be conquered. Juno fought alongside Anara and the planet's creatures, her heart in sync with the rhythms of the ocean. Together they pushed back the invaders, but the battle was far from over. Hours passed and the fighting continued. But slowly, inch by inch, the invaders began to retreat. The planet's defenses were too strong. The ocean had proven its might, and humanity had shown it could stand side by side with the living world. Finally, the invaders were defeated. Their ships were disabled, their soldiers scattered, and the survivors fled back into the sky. The world was safe. Juno stood at the edge of the ocean, her body soaked but her spirit soaring. The battle had been hard, but they had won. And they had done it together, with the power of the ocean, with Anara's guidance, and with the courage of her crew. Anara stood beside her, her expression calm. "You have done it, Captain West. You have protected the heart of the world." Juno smiled, looking out at the ocean. The sun was rising again, casting its golden light over the waves. The world was quiet now, peaceful. "We've protected more than just the planet," Juno said softly. "We've protected the future of all worlds, and now we have a new understanding, a new partnership." Anara nodded. "Yes, the ocean, the land, the creatures, all are part of the same life force, and now so are you." Juno smiled, her heart light. "We'll be back, but next time we'll be ready." And with that, Juno knew that this world, this living planet, would always have a place in humanity's future.